Right now, Texans are bracing for Beryl, which is only hours away from making landfall.
Beryl appears to be aimed at Matagorda Bay at the moment, but we're expecting to see widespread rain, street flooding, and possible tornadoes along the coastline and across parts of Texas. Officials gave an update on preparations for landfall this afternoon.
Heed the warning of your local officials and stay tuned to your local meteorologist, because this path will likely change before landfall.
We're continuing to track that storm for you tonight. We have live team coverage. 3 of our KENS 5 meteorologists are tracking Beryl. Paul Mireles is in Port Lavaca.
Meanwhile, Jeremy Baker is set up in Rockport. But first, we check in with Weather Chief Bill Taylor for a look at Beryl's path right now. Bill.
Phil, I was expecting hurricane status at this point, and we are really, really close. In fact, some of this intensification before landfall could still occur. I mean, we're still about 100 miles offshore, so there's plenty of room and very warm coastal waters for Beryl to do a little bit more intensifying before an overnight landfall. Yeah, we're about 4 to 5 hours from landfall, and we're going with Matagorda, Texas. It's going to be right between Matagorda Bay and East Matagorda Bay. Right now, winds 70 miles per hour. You need 74 for a Category 1 hurricane moving north-northwest at only 10 miles per hour. So that's the other factor. Now that it's really slowed down, remember, when it was cruising across the Caribbean, it was moving at 20 to 25 miles per hour. Pressure is still pretty high for a Category 1 storm, so that's why, again, we're still just a strong tropical storm. Here's landfall. Again, we're expecting it in the overnight hours. It's going to be Matagorda and then turning right once inland towards northwest Louisiana and central Arkansas, which means it takes all that rain with it. Do not expect much rain with this system in San Antonio and the metro. You can see at 3 a.m. the northern wall should start making landfall. Category 1 once inland as, again, 7 a.m. and the sun comes up on our Monday. Let's take a look at some of the rain bands. Houston already getting some very heavy tropical thunderstorms earlier this afternoon. The main bands are now just coming on shore near Galveston, and you can see that counterclockwise spin. On the Texas coast, meteorologist Paul Mireles in Port Lavaca, Jeremy Baker in Rockport. We've got team coverage for a Texas landfall, and we're going to begin in Port Lavaca with Paul Mireles, where conditions are worsening. Paul?
All right, Ryan, yeah, landfall is still hours away, and as you can see here in Port Lavaca, right on the edge of Lavaca Bay, weather is going downhill. Rain is picked up in intensity, and the winds have definitely picked up in intensity. And I want you to take a look. Look at Lavaca Bay right now, very active, starting to really churn up, and that water is coming up. I would say it's probably come up about a foot. It's hard to tell with all the action, but I think tomorrow morning, whenever you watch tomorrow morning, the water will likely be right about where I'm standing with the storm surge, and winds here will definitely be tropical storm force, maybe even gusting to hurricane force. The winds won't be as strong as they could have been because it looks like the eye of the hurricane is going to be on the, or well, it's not a hurricane yet, but anyway, the eye of Beryl is going to be on the other side of the bay here, and so we'll be on the backside. So our tornado threat is going to be greatly diminished, and also the storm surge will be diminished somewhat as well. I'm expecting probably a 4-foot storm surge. On the other side of the bay, though, they could see up to a 7-foot storm surge there. I can tell you here in Port Lavaca today was a different feel, that's for sure. People taking it more seriously. The buildings most of them were boarded up, and also the residences, their buildings, they were boarded up. I did take a quick trip down to Port O'Connor earlier this afternoon, and those residents, they're definitely going to ride it out. And I think a lot of folks are going to ride it out, but they're taking this system a little bit more serious today. So here in Port Lavaca, the weather is definitely going downhill with heavy rain right now, winds probably at about 30, 35 with some higher gusts, and we'll continue to see this. I mean, it's still hours offshore, and these rain bands are just going to keep coming on in here into Port Lavaca. So we'll be here throughout the overnight period, and make sure and watch us tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning we'll be very, very active. Okay, I'm going to send it down the beach over to Jeremy and see what the conditions are like down in Rockport. But Jeremy, it's going downhill here, that's for sure.
Yeah, honestly, it is not going downhill here whatsoever. Conditions haven't really changed much since it was at 5:30 for our last newscast. It's kind of like a tale of 2 days. The morning and early afternoon, it was sunny, it was hot, it was in the mid-90s. Once the northerly winds kicked in, and they're about 20 to 25 miles an hour sustained, that's when the temperatures dropped, and we're around 80 degrees right now. And honestly, it's a nice evening, and people are out here on the pier next to Aransas Bay fishing, as this hurricane is just a little bit offshore. Take a look down here. A lot of algae. Some of this was here a little earlier today, but high tide pushed a lot of that in earlier, right during the 5:30 newscast. And if you look out towards Aransas Bay at the water, it is no higher than it was before. The winds are mostly out of the north, so it's blowing a lot of the water south. So that's why a lot of the concern is further out. Port Aransas, Mustang Island, that's why it was evacuated earlier. They're still expected to take on quite a bit of water. Now, the time to evacuate has come and gone, and the Rockport police have been stressing that today was the day you had to be out. Mustang Island, like I said, was closed, and they're expected to take on as much as 4 feet of water, likely a tad less here, or much less really, because once that storm passes to our north, things look a lot better. And the last activation assistance left Aransas County Airport this morning, but many are sticking around to ride out the storm, like Paul said, now that the track has moved further north.
I'd say button up, and if you got someplace else to be, go. I mean, I got to go all the way to the Pacific coast to get away, or up to Missouri, so it takes me a little bit longer. I'm going to wait it out for now. I'm typically the guy that turns off the lights.
Yeah, that's Tony B. He's got a boat here. He's had this boat here for 2 years, he says, so he'd have to move the boat in order to get out of the way. So he's going to stay here and ride it out. It looks like he should be okay. Now, the worst of the weather here in Rockport is expected to arrive during the overnight, likely the early overnight, because once that eye, the center at least, of the tropical storm or hurricane passes to our north, things will improve. Might get some rain, but that'll be the worst that we expect here in Rockport. Reporting live from Rockport, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5. Back to you, Alicia.
Jeremy, thank you. Stay with KENS 5 as Beryl continues toward the Texas coast. We'll have Paul and Jeremy bringing you more live reports just ahead at 10:30 and then again tomorrow beginning at 4:30 a.m. You can also follow updates online at KENS5.com and the KENS 5 mobile app.